Recording live in the Hickory Hut studio on the campus of Defiance College, this is The Session with Eminem and Ryan.
Oh, DC, faculty, students, staff, and whoever may be watching, this is the session with M and Ryan.
Woo!
You might be asking, where's Liz? Liz has an earlier practice today, so she was unfortunately not able to make the show today. She will be missed, but we have someone better.
We do.
Someone way better. Sorry, Liz. We have new esports coach, Coach Parks.
Yeah.
Woo!
All right.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this, actually. I haven't been in this space yet. And like I said before, it looks awesome. And I also like the acoustics. I can hear myself way better.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, I need to get some of these. So.
We have been talking off the air for about 30 minutes, and finally I said, we got to record. Liz asked him,
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
So for those who are watching that may not know what this is, surprisingly, I think everyone would know what it is by now because it's so big now, but what is esports?
Esports is a collective bunch of games that is played at a competitive level for the most part. It's not just one game, it's several that are defined by a community. If you had to give it 2 sentences definition, that's probably it right there, right?
Okay.
Cool. So what games are available at Defiance so far?
Well, right now, the teams we're competing in are Hearthstone and Counter-Strike, one being a card game and one being a first-person shooter. That being said, there are other teams that are building towards competing that we have down there. Like League of Legends has 5 players right now that I just can't put the time in to help them until we have the starting 5, I guess, because like I said before, we already have 2 blocks for Hearthstone and Counter-Strike, but we can't add another one during that time, and then because I'd be teaching 2 games at once, which is basically impossible.
Yeah.
But
you're doing it now.
Yeah, but different blocks, right? Like 4 to 6 is Hearthstone, 6 to 8 is Counter-Strike.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Blocks
Exactly.
of time.
So then if you put another
okay.
block in.
Then I'd be there until 10 o'clock, and then it'll be, it's already getting out at 8, and trying to get here whatever time I need to get here, it's already a lot. And then if I get out at 10 or 11, I just wouldn't sleep as much, which I'm okay with, but, eventually I think I'd burn out. So.
Yeah. I feel you. So, big news. We beat Ohio State.
We did.
So is that big news?
Yeah, I want it to be big news. It's the first time Defiance College ever played Ohio State and then won. So
Nice.
So off air, you explained to us how esports isn't really like another sport on campus because it's not split into divisions.
Right.
Because it's not owned by NCAA.
Right.
So could you elaborate that on a little bit? So how is it split? Like how did we end up playing Ohio State?
Right. Well, we got really lucky to start off. Like there are probably about 170 teams within our division, right? So we basically got randomly selected to play each other with the same record.
Okay.
And like you were saying, it's not divided by divisions because NCAA doesn't regulate it. So therefore, it is if you have a varsity team, you can prove that you have that team. Come compete in our league, and then we'll divide between. It's usually north, south, west, and east.
Okay.
Then you go to regionals. Then you go to playoffs. Then you go to finals.
Of America, North,
Of
South.
America, yeah. We're
Okay.
competing against everybody in America. At
Oh
this
wow.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
So we just played University of Chicago last night.
Okay.
We won that one as well.
Oh, nice. Woo.
Oh, yeah. Get
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
I was just
So we're 4-1 right now. So I'm psyched about it.
That's impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, props to the Hearthstone team. They're probably some of the hardest players I've seen that are just out of the gates, ready to go, know their stuff, and they were doing a great job of listening to what I'm saying, and it's showing. So here we are at 4-1.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
just so the viewers know, this is the first year that esports has actually been available at Defiance College.
Yes,
and so that is pretty impressive.
True.
For you alums out there, they took the computer lab that was in the basement of the Pilgrim Library and completely transformed it into, well, there's still computers in there.
Yeah.
But computers that will blow your mind.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful setting down there. They have large screen televisions.
Several. Yeah.
Several large screen televisions. 3 or 4 banks of computers. I don't know how else you describe it.
Yeah, 2 down there. We have 12 computers down there right now.
Okay.
Expanding soon, as long as the program grows.
Keep
Cool.
growing. So that's where it is. If you want to stop on campus and see it, you can. It's all windows and the TVs are always on. Basically, somebody's
have something
always
streaming.
playing. Yeah,
Yep.
down there.
At least one of the games happening.
So off the air, we talked a little bit about being pro and the advantages, how a student or a young person turns pro,
Right.
and how not being regulated by the NCAA is a huge advantage. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, overall, going pro, is a difficult task. Let's start there.
Okay. As it would be in anything, right?
In anything, right?
Yes, okay.
Like one of the things I always talk about is there's a book called like Outliers. It talks about having 10,000 hours or something, and you can establish a profession in it basically, or you were a master of that thing. And it's very similar to like sports and esports, where as long as you're dedicating a ton of time, you'll eventually get there. Now, dedicating that much time up until you get to college is a lot more, like it's much more difficult, right? Because you've only been on Earth for like 17, 18 years, whatever
Right,
it is.
right.
So the process is basically just play a ton. Eventually, you get to a level where people either notice you or you notice that you want to be part of a bigger collection of players, I guess, that are just as good as you, if not better.
Okay.
And you breach that gap between playing, it might maybe casual, like casual to semi-pro or semi-pro to pro.
Okay.
And then when you come to college, that's why the NCAA isn't regulating it, is because there might be somebody on salary player, pro player, that they might be making, I don't know, anywhere from making $1,000 a month to $4,000 a month. If you walk in here and it's regulated and they say, well, you can't accept that anymore, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the steps are, at an early age, if you go pro, you come to college, you can also be pro, but you just play for the college team as well. That's what it's at right now.
So you can play for the team, get an education, and get paid to be pro.
And be in an awesome school.
Yep.
And be at DC.
Yeah, exactly.
And if-
So if there is a professional, an 18-year-old or 19-year-old who's looking to go to college,
Yeah.
who is also a professional, I mean, they can get a hold of you, right?
Yeah, of course. Just reach out. Like, that's one of the benefits, I'd say, of, like, having me down there, I guess, is that I've gone pro before along with the pro community, I guess, for certain games.
Okay.
So having that conversation, helping people out that are pro, that are want to go pro, like, that's a big resource for them overall, because some students are, like, really good at the game, or just people in general might be really good at the game, but they don't know what to do when it comes to, like, balancing college versus being pro, or how to get to pro if they're really good.
Yeah, that was my next question. So let's say you get a player who just enjoys the game, but as you are coaching them, they get better and better.
Right.
So is it a possibility that they can be a student? Are they called athletes here? Student athlete playing esports, and you get good enough
go
to where
pro.
you say you should go pro,
Yes.
and they can still continue their education.
Yes, that's one of the biggest things in my mind, is having the education along with being able to maybe go pro, and that comes with a lot of time management, which I personally did in college. It was difficult, yes.
Yeah, tell us that schedule that you did in college.
Oh yeah, my schedule back in college when I was playing pro was basically 8 hours of studies along with school, and then 8 hours of Counter-Strike, and then I slept for whatever else left, so another 8 hours there, probably 6 because I don't just go to sleep. Right after. It's not like I went from like playing Counter-Strike to falling asleep. You know what I mean?
Do something, gotta eat maybe. Like
Yeah,
relax
I
for an
ate
hour.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But balance is the key.
Maybe hung out with a friend or two if
Yeah.
you got lucky. Had
Exactly.
Time.
I tried to make up for my social experience somewhere else for the 2 hours. I'd set up dummies across the table and have conversations. No, but that was my schedule, and that's the dedication that you kind of need. You have to have, and that was like 5 or 6, 7 years ago. Now it's even more because it's such on a bigger scale. People are
huge.
stepping in at 18, 19, and they're light years ahead of you if you haven't been doing that before. But yeah, that's the schedule I was looking at, and probably if someone was trying to go pro, is what they should be looking at too. As long as you can effectively balance it and do still do well with your studies, by all means. It's like where your priorities land.
And we're not to say you can only be pro and play at Defiance College. I mean, if you are just getting into it, or maybe you're like, wow, I really like this, definitely talk to Coach Parks.
Yeah.
Because there is a spot for you on the team.
100%. That's
Yeah.
what I stress so much, that people want to go pro. They want to compete. I get that. But, like, they're games at the end of the day. I only got to where I am right now because I enjoyed playing them with friends, like,
Okay.
all the time. So, like, there's the other casual side of the program, in my opinion, where it's like we go down there and play a game that's not as competitive, and we have a good time. We joke around. Like, it's a culture.
Yeah.
Sure.
Every single sport, I think, has its own culture.
Absolutely.
Esports has its own as well. It's a little bit wackier, in my opinion. A lot more memers down there,
So let me ask some old fuddy-duddy
Yep,
questions,
yep.
okay?
Oh,
Because things
good.
that now
Oh, good Lord.
I use fuddy-duddy as a reference to myself, not to any of our viewers. But let's ask some questions that maybe some people some parents or grandparents,
Right.
who this is a completely new subject to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I cannot wrap my head around making $10 playing video games,
Right.
let alone legit money. But we're not going to talk about that. So, as an esports player or an esports participant, is there travel?
That's the beauty about esports, is that it's very rare that you have travel. Everything's played online, right?
Okay.
What I will say, though, is that once you do really well and you make like playoffs or a tournament, Then you all travel to one location. You have what we call like a LAN event or a LAN tournament for the weekend.
Okay.
Or maybe it's through the week and then the weekend's the playoffs, whatever it is. But limited travel, but those are some of the best experiences of my life was going to those big events with all these gamers
sure.
you
That would
played
be
against,
cool.
right?
Sure.
For that one time out of the season and stuff. Like it's awesome. So limited travel, but the times you do travel are probably the best experiences of your life.
Well,
And
and
to change
you're
the scenery and stuff and
Oh,
meet
yeah.
everybody. That'd be so
Meeting
cool.
everybody is so cool. Like
Yeah.
you've only talked to them online, but then you meet them in person, and it's just like takes about 20 minutes for it not to be awkward at first. But after that, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the same person online. So,
well, yeah, true. So, does little Johnny or little Susie need to bring special equipment to play in esports?
No, they do not.
Okay.
We have equipment down there that I've hand selected that is probably some of the best out there,
Okay.
sensor wise, mechanical keyboards, or sensor mouses, I mean. But I will say this: once someone gets more invested into playing, they're eventually going to get used to that mouse. They're going to get used to
sure.
that keyboard, or they actually will have a mouse or keyboard they're already used to, so they can bring it down there and plug and play. I don't know a single player that takes esports seriously that doesn't have their own setup.
Oh, okay.
I have my own personal keyboard. I have had the same mouse for 8 years. A mouse pad changes every once in a while.
You've had the
because-
same mouse for 8 years?
exact same mouse. Well, it's
I don't think
It's been
I've
through
had
a
the
lot.
same mouse for 8
yeah.
years.
Well, I'm sorry. It's the same mouse, but the same brand of mouse, I guess. Like,
Okay.
The same type, but so it's like a bat. Like I have the
Yes.
same bat.
Oh.
I use a DeMarini, but I
I'm
might get a
thinking,
new
like-
one every few years.
Yeah, okay.
He might update it, but it's the same type
Okay,
that he uses
okay.
every time.
And it's usually the exact, for example, I used to use what we call an MX518 Logitech. They eventually made it into a G400. It was the exact same style and feel of it, but a different sensor.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I went to G400. But everybody knows if you use an MX518, you go to G400. That's just the
Okay.
You just
progression of that equipment.
Things I don't
Yeah,
understand.
right.
So I'm always telling little Johnny or little Susie to get off the computer because it's a waste of time.
Right.
So as a coach, what do you say to that?
I think it's how you look at it. I think there are a lot of players that can sit in front of a game and not actively take anything away from it. It's a form of escapism, form of entertainment, whatever it wants to be, which is great. Fine.
Right.
That's when you need to start getting off after a while.
Okay.
If you're actively looking at games as a way of problem solving, a way of critical thinking, and taking something away from it that you can apply somewhere else, I think it's the best medium that constantly challenges you to problem solve in the world. Where
I
else
would
are you-
agree with that.
Yeah, that's pretty
Right.
sad.
I mean, to some of the people who are my age and older, they have hired gamers to work on DNA strands, things like that. They turn that into a game, and some of these problems are being solved by people who do not have a formal education,
Right.
because they are problem solvers. Just to go along with what you're saying. So, do you incorporate exercise into your regimen?
I want to. Right now,
We do finger stretches. I'm just kidding.
as of now, the program doesn't have anything required. In the near future, we probably will, because
Okay.
I think it's very important to have that physical component, just because you are sitting down a lot of the time.
Sure.
The problem right now is that a lot of the players down there are part of another sport.
Yeah.
So it's like you're part of that sport.
Oh,
I'm not
sure.
going to have you come over here and do more physical stuff, right?
Right.
So as we have more players that are here just for esports, we'll probably have that mandatory, because you have to pay for the insurance, go through all that process and
Oh,
everything.
yes,
And
yes.
then we'll set something up, because in my mind it's very important. But as of now, it's kind of a little bit leisure when
Because
it comes to that.
the team is not solely made up of esports players at this
Exactly.
particular moment, but it is growing and it is headed that direction.
Yes, exactly.
Let's see.
Esports could also be a benefit to those who are in other sports.
True.
Because that's when they can use the problem solving that they have from that
And apply to
and
sport.
apply to their sports, or if they do just need an escape for that day, it could be a change of culture to go down there and compete in something way different.
Right.
And it could be like a good thing if they're involved in both.
That
agree.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So is there a time, like a recruiting time every semester, where somebody can come in and say, "Boy, I'd really like to join esports"?
Anyone interested?
Yeah, anyone interested, basically. I mean, recruiting for esports, the strange thing about esports is there's no off season.
Yeah.
There's always a tournament happening. There's always
Okay.
a league happening. Like there might
Okay.
be several leagues across. Since we're not regulated by NCAA, right? There's a lot of stuff happening all the time. When it comes to recruiting, no, it's any time. Like I'm gonna try to. When high schools are getting ready to graduate and stuff, obviously I want to go out there and have conversations and everything
Sure.
beforehand. But a lot of the time, it's just like if you want to play games, get on down there and start dedicating the time, and I'll help
So
you get
they
there.
can come if somebody just says, "Boy, I'm done with my sport. I think I'd like to go down and play a game." All they got to do is get a hold of you.
I'll just get a hold of me unless we have, a a large number of people come down there, then we'll have tryouts. But I'm hoping for tryouts.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, that's
exactly.
cool.
Like I think.
So tryouts is like two people pitted against each other, right? And then the loser leaves.
No,
Right? No, that too
Not
extreme?
so much.
That's
Not
too
so much.
extreme.
No, it's when it
too-
comes to tryouts, are really unique because it's kind of like how do you do tryouts for an esport? I guess a lot of
Yeah.
scrimmages, a lot
Yeah.
of like playing the game itself, along with a random combination of players to see what the strengths and weaknesses are.
Okay.
But I guess you have to actively look at like what the strengths and weaknesses are. So I've already told a lot of the students down there. There's like 4 things I look for personally. It's like mechanical skill, communication, teamwork, and your like toxic levels, I guess. Because there's one thing.
What's
in
that mean?
In esports that.
I'm gonna guess like how you can control yourself when you're playing.
Yeah, kind
Like-
of. So a good example is this: like you're playing a game, whatever it is, right? And you die in that round.
You
Okay.
don't want to scream or cuss or something like that.
Exactly.
Is that what
Like
you're
you're
Oh,
still
okay.
you're still
thinking.
very much in the game.
Right?
If your first words out of your mouth are "How did he kill me there?" or "Why the hell did you do that?" or something,
Uh-huh.
you are now, in my mind, a toxic player because your focus isn't on the round; it's making an excuse as to why you died.
Oh,
Like why
okay.
we don't need that.
Okay.
We need you to be able to communicate to the person right next to you how they might not die, or like where that player was, so you can prevent that from happening. That in itself, if there's one player who is skill level all the way down here compared to someone who's all the way up here at first, but has that toxic mentality kind of, I will pick up that player that's not as good at first because I can teach him to
You
get
can
there.
teach them, yeah.
But I can't teach someone to constantly just be complaining once they die.
Spoken like a true coach.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, 100%.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we can talk about this all day. We have already been talking
day.
about it for probably 50 minutes.
It's interesting. It's cool.
it's
it's a huge thing going on, and it's just gonna. We were talking about it off air. It's just gonna continue to grow.
Yeah, so
It's gonna be huge.
tell us a little bit how you said it was going to grow. Because
Right.
I mean, for people my age and up, we don't understand how this is ever going to be bigger than insert sport here.
Right.
Super Bowl, World Series, whatever. That you mean to tell me that hundreds of thousands of people are going to sit around and
Millions.
watch 10 people play a game?
Yeah, well, a good example of how big it's really gotten is every year there's a game called Dota 2, which started on the Warcraft 3 engine, which you might know. I don't know.
I know Warcraft.
Well, there you go. It started on that as a mod, right? Mod became game. Game has crazy good fan base because it was never used just to make money, right? So
Right.
we have this awesome fan base where every single year they raise close to about $20 million for this tournament.
Huh.
The last one was a $23 million tournament, which got close to 1 million viewers online.
That's crazy.
So that's one game. That's only one game.
Yeah, that's one game.
And like all you see is like the very first year they did that, probably like 100,000, 200,000 people each year, like 100,000 come and like show up to watch again. So it doesn't stop. I always relate it to technology, and if you look at the projections of how fast esports is going to grow, it's absolutely absurd.
That's
Um,
crazy.
Yeah.
And
So-
it's so easy to watch.
Right.
But see, I don't enjoy watching other people play sport.
But that-
or esport.
Well, maybe you will if you give it a better
Well,
chance.
maybe I should give it a
Maybe
better
you
chance.
just
There we
don't
go.
give it a chance enough.
I have a question for you, kind of on the topic, but not really.
Sure.
What was the first console you played, or were you a PC person?
PC gamer all day.
Okay.
You never played another console.
I've played other consoles. I just think that PC is. Let's start here. All of the highest competitive scenes and games are played on PC.
That's very true. From what I know. yes.
Right. Like
Yeah.
consoles more of like has a big fan base because it's more casual.
Sure.
Which they now have a competitive scene because there's so many players.
Okay.
All the diehard competitive players usually start on PC and then just continue to play on PC because
Okay.
every single league.
So you started from the beginning.
Yeah,
you started.
Actually, we're playing through the very first game. We're about to. Like esports, like the Hearthstone team is taking on the challenge of playing the very first game I ever played.
Oh,
and,
that was
like,
my
played
next
through.
question. Okay.
It's called King's Quest. King's
Oh,
Quest
okay.
6.
I don't know. Do you know
It's
it?
a PC game.
Don't act like
No.
it.
I feel like I might have heard about it though.
It's a classic game that, I was like, I remember being 7 or 8 years old and I was playing through. I obviously didn't beat it at that time. Came back to it about 5 or 7 years later thinking like, oh, it'll just be nostalgic value. No, it was a really good game. And like, I
cool.
still couldn't beat it.
Today, I mean, or back then, it was. I mean, it's still a good game.
Right, exactly.
That's awesome.
But
I have
it's-
an older brother, he plays a lot of games. I don't know the names of them. I just play them too.
Right,
So maybe
right.
I did play
Maybe
it
you
once.
did play it.
Maybe
Yeah.
once.
But
And then-
that's where I started.
Question number 2: have you ever stepped foot into an arcade?
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's something that I
Do
actually.
you enjoy spending a quarter?
No. No
well,
one
now
enjoys
it's like
spending a
50
quarter.
cents. Well, I
Oh,
grew up that way, spending a quarter.
I'm
Yeah.
like
I want to
love
get that frog
arcades.
across the street.
Yeah, well, I like arcades. Yeah, for the most part. Like also pinball galleries are amazing.
You're a pinball guy.
I'm a game guy. Let's start
Okay.
there. Like
All
there are
right.
very few games I've ever played. I'm like, I don't enjoy that. But yeah, no, I think that's like the classic. That's the golden era of gaming, right? Is the arcade era.
Oh, well, yeah.
So yeah, no, it really is. And
Yeah,
it-
absolutely.
It
I mean,
inspires a lot of things that have happened or are happening now. So
everything you're saying about the social aspect, I got by going to an arcade.
right, and now we
Yes.
just transitioned into being online a lot of the time, where people always talk about how you're not really getting a social experience. No, I'm here right now in this room because of my conversations with other gamers that are in my young life.
Yes.
To 100%. Like I'll credit all of my good friends online to helping me form who I am today.
I am saying yes, but I still can't wrap my head around it.
Right.
Because to me, if I want to be social, I need to go to the place
And get on it.
and be social,
Right.
and be with people who are physically there.
Right, but
Anyway.
we all know that like as like Gen Z starts to grow and like we've seen them all be online, right? Like and then the generations above that and above that, like slowly they're more online in general.
Absolutely.
So it's just
Absolutely.
making that transition, I guess, into where yes, I agree with you like going out and having a good social experience there, and that's what you kind of need, but like other people look at it as being like online is a complete social experience, So it's just as time goes on, I guess.
I think it's cool because with that you're available to be social with anybody from anywhere around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could be best
Absolutely.
friends with somebody all the way across the country
Absolutely.
and have your social experience there.
Right.
One more question, and then we need to wrap this up because this is our longest show ever.
Oh, really?
How do you build your team? Do you have like team building things? I mean, how do you get the people down there to feel as one cohesive unit?
I think it's a solid combination of having like showing them that competitive drive that's kind of needed to compete at this level, along with a lot more casual gameplay at times, along with other events outside of the esports itself. It's going back to the whole culture of everything, right? It's creating like a very fun culture that wants to compete and do well and problem solving a lot of the time, because that's all games are at the end of the day, is a problem that you have to tackle with either yourself or a team. I don't know, it's like a collective effort of multiple things, right, that create up a team. It's hard to define it as one thing.
Okay.
But I think overall it's just having like an optimistic and positive environment down there when it comes to playing games. And then
Good.
everything else will kind of follow.
Well, it must be working. You're off to a wonderful start.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely. Hopefully headed on to regionals if things keep
Yeah,
keep
hopefully
going.
heading on to the finals. At this pace, the way we're playing, the way we're growing, I expect at least top 8. So we'll
Nice.
see. Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Not bad for the
For first year, absolutely. So growth is coming to esports, and if you're interested in playing esports, be sure to get a hold of Coach Parks. Do you
Yep.
want to give your email address real quick?
Yeah, C Parks
Or
at Defiance.
however you want them to get a hold of you.
Or you can reach me at Twitter and FlashStep CSGO. Yep, that's it.
Okay. Well, we probably should end it. We're at like 23 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
But so normally I'd love to have you back in the spring.
Of course.
Because normally we play a game with our guests, and I think, if you love games of any kind, we got to have them back on, whether you bring a player on with you or not, whatever, we can cross that bridge later.
Right.
But in the spring, we'll play some games. We'll do the Silly Six in the spring.
If they go all the way, we'll do it before the spring.
Absolutely,
We'll see
yeah.
what
It's
happens.
Get the
absolutely.
Hearthstone team in here maybe
Yeah,
or
sure.
something.
We'll
Oh,
get a
that'd
few
be
of 'em.
awesome. Or we could go down there.
We could.
Even better.
I'm
We'll
just
figure it
throwing that out
We'll
there. That
definitely,
Oh, 100%. The space down there is really good for
It
that,
would be
right?
great.
It's cool, yeah. We'll
Would be
definitely do something.
So, thanks for being on the show, Coach.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much.
Yes. So if you have any questions about esports, don't get a hold of one of us. Get a hold of Coach Parks. He'd be happy to answer this for you. And if you're interested in joining, definitely get a hold of Coach Parks. He'll be happy to teach you and turn you into a better player.
Right.
This has been the session with Jess. This has been the session without Liz.
Oh,
Thanks again, Coach.
Yeah.
thank you.
Anytime.
See ya.